Hi guys, my name is Gurkiran Kaur and watch me live on Unacademy CAT4MBA YouTube channel. Today's session is on the IELTS test format for listening. We're doing part 2 of it. Part 1 we already did in a previous session, and let's go to the part 2 now. But before that, let me introduce myself and let me talk about Unacademy. My name is Gurkiran Kaur. I'm a graduate from MICA and I'm passionate about dancing and reading. I completed my postgrad in 2019 and I took my IELTS and CAT exam in 2016. Well, what is the Unacademy advantage that you have? So, Unacademy is basically a platform for prepping up for your undergrad and postgrad entrance exams for India and for abroad. Well, the advantage that works for you here is on a schedule that definitely is for you, where you can enroll for unlimited classes, get a personalized schedule, and get like timely reminders for the same. There are no language barriers. So, apart from English and Hindi, our educators teach in other different languages as well. You can learn anytime, anywhere. You can watch the recorded version of the same classes in case you miss the live one offline or online at the comfort of any of your device, PC, mobile, laptop, desktop. You can interact with your educator, you can engage in discussions, ask your questions all while the class is going on. You can get your doubts cleared and get them answered immediately while the class is going on. You can answer live polls, which are, set by the educator and compete for a place in the leaderboard. You can take live tests and quizzes, which are curated in line with the exam pattern to measure your progress and stay on track. And you can get a detailed report and analysis of the same. They can get also PDFs and learning material to get access to class notes with educator annotations for you to revisit and revise anytime. These are all the benefits that you get as a part of the Unacademy Plus subscription that you have. And apart from that, we also have the Unacademy Iconic subscription in case you want to take your level preparation to next level with a personal coach, who is going to be solely dedicated to you, scheduling and guiding you to crack the exam that you've been targeting. He or she will also guide you to prepare for the management exams and give proper expert guidelines with test analysis of the same. This is the CAT value offering as of now on the Unacademy platform. I've already spoken about all of this. We're spoken about Iconic CAT 2021. I'm talking about the educators who are the best in the country, who some of them are 100% Tyler, some of them are, uh, you know, I'm alumni, some of them are renowned authors, some of them, and all we have a lot of batches to suit your schedule. So we have a weekday, weekend, morning, evening, foundation, special batch for other management exams, practice batches, revision batches, comprehensive batches. We have a lot of them. We have test series, we have special classes and practice sections also. So the cost to this CAT subscription for like Unacademy Plus is for a year it is 17,500 or 1,400 a month, for which you can use my code GCall to get additional 10% discount as well. In case you want to take your level prep one notch higher, you can go for the Iconic subscription, which will be the ideal one, and that is for 30,000 rupees. And you can use my code GCOD to get a 10% discount on. So you can definitely try the app, and I think it'll be a great deal because I'm sure now as you can see, just some of the people who join Unacademy, join Unacademy and crack at 2020 with flying colors, and you can definitely be one of them if you join the Unacademy app. These are some of the batches that we have live daily, and you can this these are batches which have started, one on 22nd, one on 25th, and today is one batch is starting. We have a late night weekday batch, we have an exclusive weekday evening batch, and we have one which is starting today, which is your absolute weekday batch for CAT 2021. So do go ahead, try them, enroll now on the Unacademy Plus subscription. These are some of the best educators of our platform, and students are from these batches only, so don't miss it out. We also have something called the Unacademy Champions League, where you can win prizes worth rupees 1,000. This is on 31st of January between 5 to 7, and you can unlock using my code. Well, let's move to the last section and the last part of IELTS, test sections, where we kind of saw the kind of questions that are going to come. We've seen for reading, we've seen for writing, we've seen for speaking. We've also done some questions in listening. Now let's do another set of questions in listening before we go for full practice section. Yeah. Okay. Let's hear it first and then we'll solve it. Yeah.
You will hear a communication studies student talking to his tutor about optional courses for the next semester. Come in. Oh, hello, Jack. Have a seat. Right. You said you wanted to see me to talk about your options next semester?
That's right. We have to decide by the end of next week. Really, I'd like to do all 5 options, but we have to choose 2, don't we?
Yes, but the choice depends on your major to some extent. You're majoring in communication studies, aren't you?
That's right.
So, for example, the media studies option will cover quite a lot of the same area you did in the core module on mass communications this semester, the development of the media through the last 2 centuries in relation to political and social issues.
Well, that was interesting, but I've decided I'd rather do something completely new. There's a women's studies option, isn't there?
Yes, Women and Power. Again, it has a historical focus. It aims to contextualize women's studies by looking at the legal and social situation in the 19th and early 20th centuries.
So it would be useful if I intended to specialize in women's studies, but I'm not sure I do actually.
Well, it might still be useful to give you an idea of the issues involved. It's taught by Dr. Steed.
Oh, really? I'll sign up for that then. What about the option on culture and society?
That addresses the historical debate on the place of culture since the Industrial Revolution in Britain.
So a historical focus again.
Do I get the message you're not so keen on history?
Well, it's just that we seem to have done quite a lot this semester. Anyway, I'll think about that one.
If you're interested in a course focusing on current issues, there's the option on identity and popular culture. That approaches the subject through things like contemporary film, adverts, soap operas, and so on.
That sounds interesting. Can you tell me who runs it?
Well, it's normally Dr. Stevens, but he's on sabbatical next semester, so I'm not sure who will be running it. It should be decided by next week, though.
Right. Well, I might wait until then to decide. And the last option is Introduction to Cultural Theory, isn't it? I'm quite interested in that too. I was talking to one of the second-year students, and she said it was really useful. It made a lot of things fall into place.
Yes, but in fact, in your major, you'll have covered a lot of that already in Communications 102. So that might be less useful than some of the others.
Oh, I'll forget about that one then.
Now, while you're here, we could also discuss how you're getting on with your core module assignment.
Okay. So guys, did you guys hear this? So let's start seeing whether he'll definitely do it or not. What do you think? He'll do media studies? He definitely doesn't want to do media studies because he said he's already done that. The color of, yeah. So C, he will definitely not do media studies because he's done. He was interested in women power. So sorry. Women in power was something that he was interested in. Do you want to do? You want to see women in power? See something. He said he definitely want to do women in power. Yeah. Sorry. Culture and societies definitely he doesn't want to do because he's done a lot of history, so he doesn't want to do that again. But he said he might do it, he might not do it. Depends on the course, who's taking that course. So B, identity and popular culture was also something he was interested in, but he wasn't sure whether he should take it or not because the professor was on sabbatical. Introduction to cultural theory, he will not do, definitely. Yeah, answer. Yep. Simple. You had to just answer this. You had to match the. Okay. Let's do the other part. Yep. Let's read. Let's. Here.
You will hear a man talking to an official at a tourist information office.
Can I help you?
Yes, I was wanting somewhere to stay for a few days, a 4 or 5-star hotel. Can you tell me something about the possibilities?
Okay, right. Well, there are 5 hotels that might interest you. Were you wanting a city centre location, or would you be interested in something a bit further out?
Well, I do have a car, so I could go for either.
Well, there are 2 central hotels in the range you're looking for. There's Carlton House and the Imperial. They're both near the main square, but if you've got your own transport, you might be interested in the Royal Oak. That's out in the country, about 10 kilometres away. Very peaceful. Then there's the Bridge Hotel and the Majestic. They're both in town, but not in the centre. They're out on the airport road.
That might be a bit far out, actually. Okay, now the other 2 you mentioned in the city centre. Can you tell me a bit about them?
Well, they're both excellent hotels. If you want something with a bit of character, Carlton House is quite unusual. It's a very old building that was originally a large private house. It was bought by the Vannies chain, and they completely refurbished it. They took their first guests just a few months ago, but it's already got an excellent reputation. That's a 5-star hotel. Or there's the Imperial, which is a much more modern building. That also has its own gym, and it also has internet connection and meeting rooms. It's used for conferences and corporate events as well as private guests. That's 5-star as well.
Does it have a swimming pool as well as a gym?
No, the Royal Oak has an outdoor pool, which is lovely in the summer, but the only hotel with an indoor pool is the Bridge Hotel. It doesn't have a gym, though. The Majestic is planning to build a swimming pool and a fitness centre, but it's not finished yet.
I see. Well, I think I'll probably go for one of the city centre hotels.
Okay. So guys, let's see this. What did they say about the Bridge Hotel? Let's see the answer to this. So the Royal Oak is in a rural area, as you said. They were talking about it. Carlton House is opened very recently. Other offer facilities or business function was the Imperial. They said there are a lot of modern business functions, and the Bridge Hotel also had an indoor swimming pool. Right? Yep. So yep, this is the part 2. Now let's read the part 3. Let's see. This is one where you need to fill up a form.
Section 2. You will hear a radio broadcast called Focus on the Arts. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16 on page 4. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Hello, and welcome to Focus on the Arts. I'm your host, Dave Green, and this is your very own local radio program. Every Friday evening, we put the spotlight on different arts and culture facilities and look at the shows and events that are on offer in the coming week. And today, the focus is on the National Arts Centre. Now, if you don't already know it yourself, I'm sure you've all heard of it. It's famous throughout the world as one of the major venues for classical music. But did you know that it's actually much more than just a place to hear concerts? The centre itself is a huge complex that caters for a great range of arts. Under a single roof, it houses concert rooms, theatres, cinemas, art galleries, and a wonderful public library, as well as service facilities including 3 restaurants and a bookshop. So, at any one time, the choice of entertainment there is simply enormous. So, how did they manage to build such a big arts complex right in the heart of the city? Well, the area was completely destroyed by bombs during the war in 1940. So the opportunity was taken to create a cultural centre that would be what they called the city's gift to the nation. Of course, it took a while for such a big project to get started, but it was planned in the 60s, built in the 70s, and eventually opened to the public in 1983. Ever since then, it has proved to be a great success. It's not privately owned, like many arts centres, but is still in public hands. It's run by the City Council. Both our National Symphony Orchestra and National Theatre Company were involved in the planning of the project, and they're now based there, giving regular performances every week. And as the centre is open 363 days of the year, there are plenty of performances to choose from.
Before you hear the rest of the broadcast, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20 on page 5, section 2.
Let's do the next part here, and then we will move to the next question. Yeah, what is it well known for, guys? Classical music, as they've clearly mentioned, and the complex consists of concert rooms, theaters, cinemas, art galleries, public library, restaurants, and bookshop or a bookstore. They had mentioned that very clearly. Yeah. What is the historical background? The area was destroyed by bombs in 1940, and 1960 the center was planned in 1983, and which was open to public in the with the city council, managed by the city council. Yeah. And now how many days is it open for per year? 363 days. Yeah. Great. So let's move to the next part of this.
Section
The year, there are plenty of performances to choose from.
Before you hear the rest of the broadcast, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20 on page 5. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
So, to give you some idea of what's on, and to help you choose from the many possibilities, we've made a selection of the star attractions. If you're interested in classical music, then we recommend you go along to the National on either Monday or Tuesday evening at 7:30 for a spectacular production of The Magic Flute, probably the most popular of all Mozart's operas. It's in the Garden Hall, and tickets start at only £8, but you'll have to be early if you want to get them that cheap. And remember, it's only on for those 2 evenings. For those more interested in the cinema, you might like to see the new Canadian film, which is showing on Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. in Cinema 2. And that's called 3 Lives. It's had fantastic reviews, and tickets cost just £4.50, which is a reduction on the usual price of £5.50. So, it's really good value, especially for such a great movie. But you can see the centre's main attraction at the weekend, because on Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., they're showing a wonderful new exhibition that hasn't been seen anywhere else in Europe yet. It's a collection of Chinese art called Faces of China. That's in Gallery 1, and it has some really fascinating paintings and sculptures by leading artists from all over China. And the good news is that it's completely free, so don't miss it. So why not go along to the National Arts Centre next week for one or all of these great events? And you can always pick up a programme and check out all the other performances and exhibitions on offer, or coming soon, on almost every day of the year. Next week, we'll be looking at the new Museum of Science.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, guys, let's see what's the answer. So for Monday and Tuesday, the venue is the Hall for the event The Magic Flute, as they spoke. On Wednesday, 8 p.m., they have the event for the Canadian film, which is called Three Lives. The cinema and the ticket price for the same is £4.5. And Saturday and Sunday for 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., they talk about this art exhibition, which is very new, which is Your Faces of China, which is in Gallery 1 for free. Yep. So next sort of question. Let's type this. There is one. This is a a sort of a flow plan. You have to see that and you have to label the plan below. Yeah. Using the letters here A, B, C, D, E, F next to the questions 11 to 15. Yep. Let's try doing this.
You'll hear the librarian of a new town library talking to a group of people who are visiting the library.
Okay, everyone. So, here we are at the entrance to the town library. My name is Anne, and I'm the chief librarian here. And you'll usually find me at the desk just by the main entrance here. So, I'd like to tell you a bit about the way the library is organised and what you'll find where. And you should all have a plan in front of you. Well, as you see, my desk is just on your right as you go in. And opposite this, the first room on your left has an excellent collection of reference books and is also a place where people can read or study peacefully. Just beyond the librarian's desk on the right is a room where we have up-to-date periodicals such as newspapers and magazines. And this room also has a photocopier, in case you want to copy any of the articles. If you carry straight on, you'll come into a large room, and this is the main library area. There is fiction in the shelves on the left, and non-fiction materials on your right, and on the shelves on the far wall, there is an excellent collection of books relating to local history. We're hoping to add a section on local tourist attractions too, later in the year. Through the far door in the library, just past the fiction shelves, is a seminar room, and that can be booked for meetings or talks. And next door to that is the children's library, which has a good collection of stories and picture books for the under 11s. Then there's a large room to the right of the library area. That's the multimedia collection, where you can borrow DVDs and so on. And we also have CD-ROMs you can borrow to use on your computer at home. It was originally the art collection, but that's been moved to another building. And that's about it. Oh, there's also the library office on the left of the librarian's desk. Okay. Now, does anyone have any questions? Yes, thank you.
Okay, let's see which is there. For 11, which is your first number, entrance on your left, you have your reference books section. Then you move to the 12, which is on your right, is your periodical section. Then you move to your, go ahead and you see your library area and fiction and non-fiction, where you can see, so that's your local history collection. Then you have your seminar. Next to the seminar room is your multimedia section, and your 14 is your children's book section. And so that's how we are done, right? So 11, 12, you have to mention the floor plan, right, guys? Let's move to the next question, and then we'll shut this session. Let's read the next part.
Section 3. You will hear part of a seminar entitled Understanding the World's Oceans, given by a climate scientist. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25 on pages 5 and 6. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Thanks to all of you for coming along today to hear about how the robotic float project is helping with ocean research. Well, first of all, we'll look at what a robotic float does and its use. So let's start with the device itself. It looks a bit like a cigar, and it's about 1.5 meters long. More importantly, it's full of equipment that's designed to collect data. So it can help us in building up a profile of different factors which work together within the world's oceans.
Sounds like a big project. Isn't it too big for one country to undertake?
That's quite true, but this project is a really good example of international cooperation. Over the last 5 years, scientists from 13 countries have been taking part in the project and launching floats in their area of ocean control. And next year, this number will rise to 14 when Indonesia joins the project.
That's impressive.
But let's move on to how floats work. The operational cycle goes like this. Each of the floats is dropped in the ocean from a boat at a set point and activated from a satellite. Then the float immediately sinks about 2,000 meters. That's 2 whole kilometers down in the water. It stays at this depth for about 10 days and is carried around by the currents which operate in the ocean at this level. During this time, it's possible for it to cover quite large distances, but the average is 50 kilometers.
So, what is it actually recording?
Well, at this stage, nothing. But as it rises to the surface, it collects all sorts of...
So, what is the robotic float project shaped like, guys? So what is this saying? It's shaped like a cigar, and scientists from Dash have worked on the project so far. Scientists from countries or different countries. Yep. 13 different countries. Okay. Next year, the next one.
Section 3.
floats in their area of ocean control. And next year, this number will rise to 14 when Indonesia's robotic float project is helping with ocean research. Well, first of all, we'll look at what a robotic float does and its use. So let's start with the device itself. It looks a bit like a cigar, and it's about 1.5 meters long. More importantly, it's full of equipment that's designed to collect data. So it can help us in building up a profile of different factors which work together within the world's oceans.
Sounds like a big project. Isn't it too big for one country to undertake?
That's quite true, but this project is a really good example of international cooperation. Over the last 5 years, scientists from 13 countries have been taking part in the project and launching floats in their area of ocean control. And next year, this number will rise to 14 when Indonesia joins the project.
That's impressive.
But let's move on to how floats work. The operational cycle goes like this. Each of the floats is dropped in the ocean from a boat at a set point and activated from a satellite. Then the float immediately sinks about 2,000 meters. That's 2 whole kilometers down in the water. It stays at this depth for about 10 days and is carried around by the currents which operate in the ocean at this level. During this time, it's possible for it to cover quite large distances, but the average is 50 kilometers.
So, what is it actually recording?
Well, at this stage, nothing. But as it rises to the surface, it collects all sorts of data. Most importantly, variations in salinity, that's salt levels, and the changes in temperature, a bit like underwater weather balloons. Then, when it gets back to the surface...
Okay, so what is it talking about? The floats are dropped into the ocean and activated by the satellite. That's what have they written. Activated by the satellite. That's what they said. And the average distance traveled is 50 kilometers. And float records changes in salinity and temperature. Right? Now let's see the average around approximately 50 meters, and 25 is temperature change. Temperature change or changes in salinity and temperature, you can write any of. Yeah, great. Let's move to the next part.
Be in certain parts of the ocean, we can advise the Navy on search and rescue missions. That's happening right now, and many yachtsmen owe their lives to warming and ozone depletion. Hobart, and within 4 hours the findings can be on computers, and they can be mapped and analysed.
You say you're building models of the world's ocean systems, but how are they going to be used? And more importantly, when?
Some of the data has already helped in completing projects. For example, our understanding of the underlying causes of El Nino events is being confirmed by float data. Another way we're using float data is to help us to understand the mechanics of climate change, like global warming and ozone depletion. That's part of an ongoing variability study, but the results are still a long way off. However, this is not the case with our ocean weather forecasting. Because we know from the floats what the prevailing weather conditions will be in certain parts of the ocean, we can advise the Navy on search and rescue missions. That's happening right now, and many yachtsmen owe their lives to the success of this project. In addition, the float data can help us to look at the biological implications of ocean processes.
Would that help with preserving fish stocks?
Yes, and advising governments on fisheries legislation. We're well on the way to completing a project on this. We hope it will help to bring about more sustainable fishing practices. We'll be seeing the results of that quite soon.
It sounds like the data from floats has lots of applications.
Yes, it does. It's also a powerful agricultural tool. If we were aware of what the weather would be like, say, next year, we could make sure that the farmers planted appropriate grain varieties to produce the best yield from the available rainfall.
That sounds a bit like science fiction, especially when now we can't even tell them when a drought will break.
I agree that this concept is still a long way in the future, but it will come eventually, and the float data will have made a contribution.
That is the end of section 3.
So at present, they are talking that the float project can help with the issue. Then they're talking about the global warming, which can, what will be happening? It'll happen in the long-term future. They talk about naval rescues, which they can do it at present, and sustainable fishing practices in the near future, and crop selection in the long-term future. Yep. So that's what is going to be there for this. With this, we end the session, guys. I hope you understood how the questions need to be solved. Thank you so much for being with me in this session. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to subscribe to Unacademy CAT4MBA Live Daily. And don't forget to use my code GCOR in case you're planning to subscribe to Unacademy Plus or Unacademy Iconic subscription on the